The old farmhouse sat on the edge of a sleepy New England town, wrapped in the stillness of early autumn. Dry leaves scuttled across the porch as twilight gave way to darkness. Inside, the Garrison family gathered in quiet routine. Anna, retired schoolteacher, her husband Walter, an old Navy man with knees that cracked like firewood, and their teenage granddaughter Lily, whose parents were overseas for a year. They weren't alone. In the corner by the fireplace lay a calico cat with eyes like green glass marbles, sharp, watchful, always listening. Her name was Marbles. She'd come to them 2 winters ago, a stray with no collar and a limp in her hind leg. Since then, she had scarcely left Anna's side. That evening, as Walter read aloud from the paper and Lily scrolled through her phone, Marbles suddenly lifted her head. Her ears twitched. Something was outside, but the others didn't notice. Later that night, as the house slept, Marbles sat rigid at the window, eyes fixed on the tree line. A faint creak, too deliberate for the wind, echoed across the porch. Her tail flicked once, then again. She saw the shape before anyone else. A tall figure, unmoving, half shadow, half human, stood just beyond the glow of the porch light. Then, as if sensing her gaze, it turned and disappeared. Marbles didn't sleep that night. By morning, the night's event seemed like a dream, but as Anna opened the front door to fetch the paper, she froze. There were long, deliberate scratches on the wood, just beneath the doorknob. "Walter!" she called, voice tight. "Come see this." Walter hobbled over and narrowed his eyes. "Looks fresh," he muttered. "Could be raccoons. Or kids playing stupid." But Marbles was on high alert. She paced the threshold, her back arched. She sniffed the air and hissed softly, tail puffed like a duster. Lily came down the stairs, earbuds still in, and paused. "What's wrong with her?" "Nothing," Anna said quickly, though she didn't believe it. "Just being a cat." But Marbles wasn't acting like any cat they'd known. She followed them from room to room, stared fixedly out windows, and growled, low and guttural, at empty doorways. That night, she wouldn't settle. Every sound, pipes, branches, distant dogs, sent her darting to the nearest window, hackles raised. At 2:13 a.m., she let out a shriek no one in the house had ever heard from her before. It woke them all. They found her standing in the hallway, fur bristling, eyes locked on the attic hatch above. It hung slightly ajar. Walter fetched the stepladder with hands that trembled more than he admitted, but when he peered into the dusty crawl space, there was nothing, just cobwebs and shadows. Still, Marbles didn't sleep. A week passed. The police had come and gone. "Probably animals," they said of the scratches. "Lock your windows," they advised. Still, there was a tension in the house now, like breath being held too long. Lily stayed close to Anna during the day, which neither admitted was for comfort, and every night, Marbles resumed her vigil, pressed against the window pane like a sentinel carved from bone and fur. Then one night, as Anna made her evening tea, she noticed something chilling. The guest bedroom window, one they never opened, was wide open, not cracked, not ajar, open. She rushed to it, felt the breeze with trembling fingers, and looked out into the darkness. Nothing but trees. Walter checked the locks again, triple securing every latch. "Must have been left open by accident," he muttered. But even he didn't believe that. Later, while Walter showered and Anna crocheted in the living room, Marbles slipped away. No one saw her pad into the guest room, leap to the windowsill, and perch like a gargoyle. She sat there for over an hour. At 11:47 p.m., she bolted down the hallway, howling. She stood outside Lily's bedroom, claws scraping the wood. Anna reached her first and pushed open the door. The window was open again. After that, Anna barely slept. She moved a rocking chair into Lily's room and began dozing there each night. A crocheted shawl over her shoulders, and Marbles curled at her feet. Walter took to sleeping with his old service pistol on the nightstand. One morning, Lily found Marbles sitting perfectly still at the front door, staring at something no one else could see. "Do you think she knows something?" Lily whispered. Anna nodded slowly. I think she always has. That evening, Anna took out a faded photo album and found the picture from the day marbles first appeared, limping across their snow-covered porch. Her eyes were the same, unblinking, knowing. As dusk fell, clouds blanketed the moon. The house grew quiet, too quiet. Then from the basement came a soft click, a doorknob turning. Anna rose from her chair, heart pounding. "Walter," she called. "Lily?" They were upstairs. The knob turned again. Suddenly, Marbles sprinted toward the basement door, her growl now a snarl. She pawed at it violently, yowling with a ferocity no one had ever seen. Then, silence. Walter emerged with the pistol. He opened the door. No one was there, but muddy footprints led up from the basement steps, and just as the chapter closes, we see Marbles staring at the footprints, her body low, muscles tense, as if she knows the stranger isn't done yet. The police returned the next morning. More careful this time, they inspected the muddy footprints, noted how they led from the basement toward the back door, but stopped short, vanishing in the dewy grass like a ghost had walked them. No forced entry, no broken locks, just an old wooden house growing more uneasy by the day. That evening, Walter sat cleaning his pistol at the kitchen table. Anna watched him with quiet eyes, her hands wrapped around a mug that had long gone cold. Lily sat in the living room pretending to read, and Marbles. She paced, from window to window, room to room. She was tracking something. At dusk, she froze at the back door and stared across the empty cornfield that edged their land. The stalks had been harvested weeks ago, leaving behind dry husks and brittle silence. But Marbles saw him, a tall man, standing dead center in the field, motionless. Anna followed her gaze and gasped. She could just make out the silhouette, too still to be natural. She called for Walter, who rushed to the window, eyes narrowing. When he blinked, the man was gone. They called the police again. This time, an officer stayed overnight, parked at the edge of the driveway. The family tried to sleep. Marbles didn't close her eyes once. By the third night, the officer had seen nothing. He'd taken a statement, left a number, and driven off before dawn. That same morning, Anna found something that made her blood run cold. A button. A small black shirt button lying on the carpet of Lily's room. Not hers. Not Lily's. Not Walter's. The window was locked. "Check the attic again," she whispered to Walter. "Please." He climbed the ladder with a flashlight. Nothing, until he looked closer, toward the far corner, where the insulation was disturbed. A man could have hidden there, easily. He came down pale, breath ragged. That night, they prepared. Walter kept the pistol on him. Anna didn't sleep. Lily curled under blankets with Marbles on her chest. At 3:14 a.m. it happened. The power went out. The house sighed into darkness. Only the moon lit the rooms. Then came the sound of footsteps, slow, deliberate, above them. The attic. Marbles launched off Lily's bed and raced into the hallway, yowling loud enough to shake the walls. Anna and Walter burst from their room. The attic hatch creaked open, and then a thud. Someone or something had dropped into the hallway. Marbles snarled and lunged into the darkness. Walter raised the gun, but froze. He couldn't see clearly, only shapes, shadows. Then came a scream, deep, male, terrified. Something crashed, a heavy scuffle, and the shape bolted toward the stairs, only to be intercepted by Marbles again. She clawed, bit, screeched like a wild thing. Walter flipped the hallway light back on. For 1 second they saw him, a ragged man in dirty clothes, face pale, eyes sunken, bleeding from one side of his neck where Marbles had struck. He stumbled backward and fled down the stairs. The back door slammed open. By the time the police arrived, the man was gone, but his blood was on the floor. They never caught him. The police searched the woods, checked cameras, interviewed neighbors, but there was no name, no motive, no prints, just a few fragments of his clothes snagged on a fence and the trail of a man who had likely been living in their attic for weeks, watching, waiting. It was the cat, the officer had said, still shaken. "She's the reason you're all alive." They gave Marbles a medal, Not an official one, but Walter fastened a tiny silver cross to her collar with trembling hands. "You're our soldier now," he whispered. Anna cried when she told the story later, not from fear, but from something deeper, gratitude, awe, love. Marbles returned to her usual routines, sleeping by the fireplace, perching on windowsills. But every now and then, her ears would twitch and she'd stare just a bit longer into the night, as if to say, "I'm still watching." The farmhouse grew warm again, safe. But they never left the windows unlocked after that, and they never stopped listening when Marbles growled.